bummy today. You was bony and looking too funny today. I don't care, nigga still make change. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the Chatting with Cheeze podcast. I'm your host, Fat Cheeze, and y'all already know the motto: no gimmicks, only the real. This is episode 44. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me. Do not forget what I need y'all to do. Smash that subscribe button. We on our way to 300 subscribers. Also, do not forget to like and share the content when it's released. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. So why not start off with the hottest topic right now in all the sports? This past weekend, we had the NFL draft starting on Thursday and went all the way into Saturday. And the biggest story that came out of the draft was quarterback Shedeur Sanders ended up sliding all the way to the 5th round, where the Browns eventually traded up to make the selection for him. So I wanted to give my reaction to that. I said, you know what, let me go ahead and just wait to talk about it, because I knew as the draft was going on, everybody was making their clips and videos of what they thought. And I said, you know what, I'm going to wait to get my reaction once I shot my episode. So here we go. Let's dive into it. So Shedeur Sanders' draft saga finally ended on Saturday in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL draft. The Cleveland Browns traded up to pick number 144 overall to select the Colorado quarterback. Cleveland sent picks number 166 and 192 overall to Seattle for the rights to the selection. The Browns and the entire league continuously passed on Sanders amid discussion about his play and concerns about off-the-field distractions. Cleveland passed on the Colorado quarterback 6 times, including drafting fellow rookie signal caller Dillon Gabriel in the third round of Friday night. Ultimately, they moved up in the 5th round to stop Sanders' draft weekend slide. Nothing really affected me the last couple of days, Sanders told reporters on Saturday, per the team transcript. I'm favored. I'm blessed. Besides that, it's not really anything that changed. The love of the game is still the love of the game. When you get on the field, there wasn't much negativity being said. I know I got to clean up some things in my game for me to be at my best, but that's what I take each off season, one at a time, and fix it. The main thing I'm just proving Coach Kevin Stefanski and General Manager Andrew Berry that they are right. That's it. They're right about picking me. I'm a good decision. I'm a good draft pick for them to be able to come in there and do what I need to do. On Saturday, Berry said they didn't expect Sanders to be available in the 5th round. He's highly accurate. Berry told reporters following the pick via NFL Network's Cameron Wolf, can play well from the pocket, very productive college career. It wasn't necessarily the plan going into the weekend to draft 2 quarterbacks. We believe in best player available. We didn't expect him to be available in the 5th round. In 2024, Sanders completed a career-high 74% of 477 pass attempts for 4,134 yards with 37 touchdown tosses and 10 interceptions, becoming a second-team All-American and Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. So before I get into the rest of it, I just wanted to get my thoughts on the whole situation. And I let everything come out first before I came and said, I was ready to sit down and talk about it. And what I took from the whole situation was the NFL owners and the NFL GMs, they decided on Thursday and after that, they wanted to send a message to Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders. This was bigger. This was bigger than just sports. This was about humbling this young man and humbling his dad. And my whole thing with the situation is, I feel like the NFL milked it. They benefited off of it as well too. But I felt like that they just went into it with the idea of saying that we're not going to allow this young man to come into our league and feel like he's bigger than the program. And after this, it was already set in stone after the combine. You already started to see narratives slowly but surely be pushed about, it's possibilities of him not going in the 1st round. Possibilities. At first it started with, well, he may not be top 10. Then it went from not top 10 to he may go in the 20s. Then it went from the 20s to now he may not even be a first round selection, to him sliding all the way to the 5th round. Where my issue comes in with this whole thing is, and I see a lot of people coming in, chiming in on their thoughts and everything like that. Where my issue comes in with the whole situation, I've been planting my flag on where I stood. My thing is this: since when has it been a problem for someone to be confident in themselves? And I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, they didn't like the way he carried himself in the meetings, in the interviews, and everything like that." That's fine and dandy. I understand it. If you didn't agree with the way he went about the interview process, you wish he would have been, more appreciative of the opportunities that was possible, that was in front of him. That's fine. I understand that. But when you look on the tape, at the tape, tell me what the tape shows you. There's no way in the world coming into the draft. I only thought there was one quarterback coming into the draft that was better than Shedeur Sanders, and that was Cam Ward, who ultimately went number 1. There's no way anybody can sit in my face and tell me that there was 5 other quarterbacks better than Shedeur Sanders, and tell me that there wasn't narratives being pushed or they didn't make it personal. Like, come on, we gotta be realistic when it comes to this right here. Now, like I said, yes, did Shedeur bring some of it on himself? That's possible, okay. But how many other quarterbacks have we seen do the same exact things and it not hurt them in the end? Baker Mayfield, I never heard anybody call him cocky. I never heard nobody question his character. Baker Mayfield actually had off the field issues as well. I never heard nobody speaking negatively on that much negatively on him, and he still went number 1 in the draft. Johnny Manziel came out, had a bunch of off the field issues, had a bunch of stuff he was going through. Guess what? Still went in the 1st round. How many players have we seen come into the draft with question marks, off the field issues, legal issues, things like that, and still get drafted high? You mean to tell me that this young man did so bad in his interviews that he slid all the way to the 5th round? Are you kidding me? Come on, I just don't understand it. And my thing is this: like I said before, people are entitled to feel however they want to feel. This young man is Deion Sanders' son. Deion Sanders, no matter where you want to rank him at, no matter what you think about him, I'm not even going to give my ranking right now. Deion Sanders is one of the greatest players to ever grace a football field, period. What was Deion Sanders most known for? Yes, great play on the field, but also the swagger, the way he talked, the way he dressed, his whole persona. What did people expect his kids to be like? But I feel like this was more so, to me, a humbling of Deion Sanders than it was for Shedeur. Yeah, they wanted to humble Shedeur too, but they also wanted to show Deion Sanders that he wasn't as big as that he wasn't bigger than the program as well either. Now it's coming out that they had a problem with Deion Sanders saying that Shedeur wouldn't play for certain teams. But I never heard anybody all the way leading up to this time. I never heard nobody say nothing about what Arch Manning did for Eli Manning. Eli Manning refused to play for the San Diego Chargers. That's how he ended up in New York. Or did we forget about that? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with it's always people pick and choose what they wanna consider cocky, or what they want to consider arrogant, or what they want to consider when it benefits the narratives that they trying to push. And my whole thing, and back to what I said with this: if you feel like Shedeur went about the interview process wrong, or about everything he did leading up to the draft, you're entitled to feel that way. But the thing that really irritated me the most is when I started hearing people talk about skill level. That's the thing that really irritated me right there, because there's no way you can go watch what he did on the field for Colorado last year and tell me that there's a skill problem. Yes, does he take a lot of sacks? Absolutely. But he's out there working with one of the worst offensive lines in college football. Some people may think he hold the ball too long. Okay, I give you that. But other than that, there's no way you could see what he did out there on the football field and say that there was a issue with his skill level. That doesn't even, you know what I'm saying? That the man threw for 4,000. The man threw for 4,000 plus yards. The man threw for 4,134 yards with 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He's very accurate. Doesn't turn the ball over. One of the highest completion percentages. I think he actually broke a record for his completion percentages, so I'm just trying to figure out how are people questioning the skill level. You know what I'm saying? And then I didn't like the fact that even though the Browns did select him, that they said that they just went best player available. There's absolutely no way you're going to sit right here and tell me, and this is no shot at Dillon Gabriel. This is no shot. He can't control who drafts him or what goes on. But there's no way you're going to tell me that you thought Dillon Gabriel was better than Shedeur Sanders. Come on, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. There's no way the Saints are going to tell me that Tyler Shaw, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, whatever. I'm sorry, but it's not your fault. There's no way the Saints fans are on fire. I know a few. There's no way you're going to tell me you felt as though that he was a better option at quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. There's no way the Pittsburgh Steelers can tell me that what they have at quarterback currently, Pittsburgh is basically going into the year with no quarterback. Now it's a report coming out that they're gonna wait for the 2026 class. So you mean to tell me that they made it so personal that the Steelers are waiting the next year? They just gonna go into the season with who? Mason Rudolph? Come on, man, stop it. It was made personal. It was made personal, and people are trying to come up and create their own narratives and make it out to be what they want it to be, to feel better, to prove up, to feel better about themselves. They made it personal. If you go on the Browns Instagram page right now, what's plastered all over their Instagram? Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is plastered all over their Instagram. Because guess what? We've never seen this in the history of the NFL draft. At least I haven't, and I don't think we're gonna ever see it again. Where somebody who was projected, just 2 months ago, all of a sudden people want to bring up skill and his talent and his arrogance don't match his talent. But just 2 months ago, he was labeled as at the very least a top 3 draft pick. Some people had him as the number one quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to figure out how in a matter of time we end up at the 5th round of the draft. And he's still, and the Browns traded up to come and get him. But I'm going to tell you what I believe is going to happen, though. And if this message reached Shedeur, I hope it do. I believe Shedeur Sanders landed in the best position possible. Because right now, I feel like Shedeur is the most talented quarterback in that Browns locker room, going into that Browns locker room. He's better than Dillon Gabriel. He's better than Kenny Pickett, and he's also better than Joe Flacco. I believe Joe Flacco will get the start, but eventually, I think Shedeur will be able to take the reins before the end of the year, and he will eventually be the starter. David Njoku and corner, I can't think of his name right now. But they already campaigning for Shedeur. It sounds like to me they campaigning for Shedeur to be the starter. So, all Shedeur, keep your head down. If the draft is over now, put your head down, go to work, and go in there and do what you're supposed to do. But it's just, I just find it very, very weird that, people are coming up. It's crazy how we live in a world nowadays where people will see wrong going on and they'll know it's wrong. They'll know what's going on is wrong, and they'll still try to find ways to make it seem like it's right. It's just crazy to me. It's crazy, and it's just a shame. And I'm one of the biggest NFL fans in the world, but it's just to see that, and we know why it's going on. It just didn't sit right with me. I said it months ago that they were painting narratives about all of a sudden him possibly not getting drafted in the top 10 and him possibly going late 20s, and now all of a sudden they were talking about he won't teams don't view him as a first rounder. They was painting narratives all along. But like I said, all they had to do with was they came into this draft saying we're gonna humble him and we're gonna humble his dad. But my question to y'all is, what about all the other people? Why wasn't Baker Mayfield humble? He was the number 1 overall pick. Shedeur hasn't had no off-the-field issues. He hasn't got in no legal trouble. Deion Sanders has never had any, not that I know of, any off-the-field issues. You know what I'm saying? So why you want to humble Shedeur? Why you want to humble Deion? Why was Johnny Manziel a first-round draft pick? Johnny Manziel had a plethora of off-the-field issues and things going on. He was still a first-round draft pick. Why don't I hear people crucifying Eli Manning when Eli Manning's dad basically told the San Diego Chargers he wasn't playing for them and they had to make a trade, and that's how he ended up in New York. Why nobody scrutinized that? But because Shedeur is confident in his ability, and you know he feel like he's that good, now that's where we draw the line. Now that's where the teams want to draw the line. Now that's where it's a problem. Come on, man. Like, come on. And like I said, shout out to all the draft picks. All the draft picks that got drafted Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Shout out to all you guys. At the end of the day, people can't control where they picked at. But come on now, right is right and wrong is wrong. Everybody know what's going on. Everybody's seen it. It was right in front of all our eyes to see. And people will still get on the internet and say, "Oh, people want to be victims and all this." Ain't nobody trying to be victim. The truth is the truth. It's right there in front of you for you to see. It's nowhere in the world. We was just talking about this man being a top 3 draft pick 2 months ago to now we all the way in the 5th round and a team had to trade up to come and get him. Come on, stop it. But like I said, I believe Shedeur landed in the perfect position. I believe he's the most talented quarterback in that quarterback room right now currently. And I believe by the end of the season, Shedeur Sanders will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns may have just got a steal just by everybody trying to be petty. And they possibly have their franchise guy. So I just wanted to touch on that for a little bit. I know everybody's been talking about it. It's been the talk of the town for days since the draft has been going on. So I said, you know what, I'm going to wait till I record to touch on it. And that's my 2 cents on it. Moving on, speaking of the draft. So we had a lot of teams had some pretty good drafts this past weekend. I'm always one of the people. I'm so much into sports. I watch the entire draft, like all around. So a lot of people don't watch all around. So I say, you know what I'm gonna do this week's episode? I'm gonna give my top 3 winners of this year's NFL draft as far as teams. I normally do winners and losers, but there's no losers. These kids, they coming in the NFL trying to make their bag and do what they supposed to do. So I'm gonna name the 3 teams that I felt like had the best drafts this year. And I'm going to start at number 3. So I'm going to work my way from the bottom, and then I'm going to go on up top. So at number 3, I went with the Dallas Cowboys at number 3. The reason why I went with the Dallas Cowboys, and as y'all know, people that watch, I'm a Cowboy fan, people that know me. The reason it was, at first, I'm not going to lie to you. When the pick was announced round 1, I was hot. I was on fire. I didn't like it, and I kind of knew that's the direction that they were going in, but I just didn't want to accept it. And when it happened, I was highly upset. I was really upset. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not ashamed to say it. I was upset because I thought that going into the draft, they were honing in on, they were going wide receiver, because I felt like going into this draft, wide receiver was our biggest need. You want to put somebody next to CeeDee Lamb that can, take that pressure off him and, make plays when outside, because, going into every game, he's the main focus for each defense. So I wanted them to draft somebody that could take that pressure off him. So my mindset was automatically either Tedderall McMillan or Matthew Golden. So in the round 1 of the NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys went with Tyler Booker out of Alabama, to the best guard, the best interior offensive lineman in the draft. The second round, they addressed the defensive side of the ball. They went Donovan Izuraka from Boston College. In round 3, they went, and this was a steal to me, they went Shavon Revel Jr., cornerback, East Carolina. They didn't have a 4th round pick, so round 5 they went Jadon Blue, running back from Texas, explosive. I believe he ran a 4.340, one of the two. They traded back up in round 5 to get Shamar James, linebacker from Florida. Round 6 they went back to the offensive line. They got Ajane Cornelius. I'm sorry if I pronounced the first name wrong. I try. They pronounced him as a guard, but I believe he right tackle, if I'm not mistaken. From Oregon. Round 7, they went Jay Toya, defensive tackle, UCLA. Round 7, they went Phil Maffa, running back, Clemson. And then to end it out, they went Tommy Akingbasate, defensive tackle from Maryland. Shout out to Maryland. You know that's my mob. But all in all, after me being upset about the Tyler Booker pick in the first round, when I slept on it and I sat about and thought about it, I'm sorry. I was okay with the pick because even though, and I said it in a small clip that I made, even though as hard as they make it, when it comes to them drafting offensive linemen, I believe they deserve the benefit of the doubt. And, this is the same team that drafted Zach Martin, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. They drafted Tyron Smith, who's a potential Hall of Famer. They drafted Tyler Smith, who's been phenomenal since they got him. People gave him flack for that draft pick. They drafted Travis Frederick, who was an all-time one of the best centers, in the league the time that he was there. So when it comes to offensive line, they're known for hitting on the offensive line. So when I sat back and thought about it, I said, okay, you did lose Zach Martin to retirement. You need somebody to fill that void. The run game was horrendous last year. Jerry said he felt as though it was more offensive line than it was the running back. So I ended up being fine with it. The Cowboys added 9 new players over the course of 3 days in the 2025 NFL Draft, including 6 picks on Saturday with double dips at running back and defensive tackle. With needs all over the roster, each of the picks has an opportunity to step into a role and contribute in some form or fashion from the jump during their time in Dallas. So these are the grades that the Cowboys got for their draft, and this is from different sport platforms. PFF graded them an A+, Yahoo Sports graded them an A, USA Today graded them a B+, Bleacher Report graded them an A, Fox Sports graded him a B-, and NFL graded him an A-. Tyler Booker had 3 straight All-SEC awards. Donovan Izuraka won the Ted Hendricks Award for the best defensive end in the nation. And like I said, I like the first 3 picks are really what excite me the most about the Cowboys draft, because I feel like Tyler Booker can step right in and take over that right guard position from day one. I feel like Izuraka can come in, and he's a sack master. He had 16.5 sacks last year. I just told you the award that he won for best defensive end in the nation. He could come in, rush the quarterback. One thing about it, if you can get sacks in college, you can come in the NFL and do the same thing. I believe you add him to that mix with to kind of, make up for D-Law. You got Dante Fowler. Now you add Izuraka. You still got Sam Williams coming off injury. You got Nealon. And then you keep Michael on that other side. I like that. I like the 2, Siobhan Revel. He's coming off of an ACL injury. So once you get him back, he's a long, lengthy corner that, those are the type of corners the Cowboys seem to have been targeted often. And if it wasn't due to injury, we're talking about a first-round talent. So I like that. I love the pick of Jadon Blue. He's a speedster. He kind of give you that Tony Pollard vibe when they got Tony Pollard. So I loved it. I love that pick too. I believe he can come in and contribute. He's great catching the ball out the backfield as well too. So you mix that in. I think that upgrades the running back room a little bit. And I love the 2 defensive tackle. I love the 2 defensive tackle picks because I feel like Mozzie Smith needs some competition. Jay Toya, the defensive tackle from UCLA, like I said, I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. He's 300 and something pounds, so he's not that he ain't gonna be able to rush the quarterback like that. But he gonna be able to. You gonna need 2 to 3 guys blocking him, and he gonna clog some lanes for them linebackers to fly and stop that run. That's been one of, or if not the biggest problem for the Cowboys the last probably 5 years, if I'm being honest, longer than that, was stopping the run. So I like it. So I put the Cowboys as my number 3 team for who I felt had the best draft, and we gonna see what happened. But I liked it a lot. At number 2, And I don't know how people might feel about this, but I went New England Patriots at number 2. I love what New England did. When you have a young quarterback, the main thing you want to do is put the most talent around him as possible for him to succeed. At number 4, they went Will Campbell, offensive lineman, round 1, LSU. I believe Will Campbell was the best offensive lineman in this draft. Round 2, they went Travion Henderson from Ohio State. To me, behind Ashton Genty and Amarion Hampton, Travion Henderson was the third best back in this draft. Speedster, can catch out the backfield. He can give you all levels. I love what you get from him. The third round, they went Kyle Williams, wide receiver, Washington State. He was also very productive in college, coming out of college. I love he behind the main guys that you know, Ted McMillan, Golden, Abuka. Kyle Williams was right in that mix, right there with them. So I like that. You add him to after they got Stephon Diggs in the offseason. You add that to the wide receiver room is better. Then in the third round, so they double dipped in the third round. They went Jared Wilson, interior offensive lineman from Georgia. That was a hell of a pick. I believe he's a center. Who they got right there. Then they finished it up with Craig Woodson at safety in the fourth round from California, and Joshua Farmer, defensive lineman, round 4, Florida State. The New England Patriots had a busy 2025 NFL draft, making several trades and ended up with 11 total players added. They also had a productive draft, at least according to the evaluators. The Patriots haul was generally among the highest graded by NFL media. When the Patriots resisted trade offers and selected Henderson in the second round, number 38 of the NFL draft, they immediately injected their offense with juice and big play potential that hadn't been on their roster. It highlighted one of the themes of the overall approach, investing significant draft capital around second-year quarterback Drake May. That included LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell, Washington State receiver Kyle Williams, and Georgia center Jared Wilson. So yeah, he is a center. They also signed Stephon Diggs in the offseason, along with a bunch of other guys. Mac Hollins is going to be a part of that wide receiver room. Austin Hooper as a tight end. I just like what they did. They went into Mike Vrabel, and he's creating a culture in New England. This is probably the best New England team we probably will see this upcoming season after the Bill Belichick era. And I like what they did. That's what you're supposed to do. When you have a young quarterback that you believe in and that you're going to put your faith in, the proper thing to do is put the right pieces and the right things around him that's going to make him best, that's going to give him the best opportunity to succeed. And I feel like the Patriots did that. That's why I put them at number 2. You make sure you show up that offensive line, and you got to show up that blind side at left tackle. So that's why I felt like the Will Campbell move was phenomenal. Then you go ahead and get him an explosive runner in the backfield in Henderson, who he can hand the ball off to, dump it down out the backfield, throw it. He can catch. He can do pretty much everything. And then you add a guy like Kyle Williams, who is another explosive receiver, can make plays. You pair him with Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, who made plays for Buffalo last year, and now you cooking. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they double dip. They went safety, and then they went defensive line. You add that with Harold Landry, linebacker, who they added, Robert Spillane, linebacker, Carlton Davis, corner, Morgan Moses is also going to be a part of that offensive line. Milton Williams, who was the big signing from Philly, defensive tackle. So I like what the Patriots did. I was kind of juggling back and forth, but I got an honorable mention for y'all. I know I was only supposed to do 3, but I didn't want to hear people complaining. But I went Patriots number 2 for who I felt had my top 3, the best drafts of this year. And number 1, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt like this team had a really good draft. I went Carolina Panthers. So in round 1, they went Tedero McMillan. Round 2, they went Nick Scorton, edge. I believe he's from Texas A&M. They went Princely Princely U, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Edge. I believe he's from Ole Miss. They went Trevor Etienne, and they also went Jimmy Horn. That's probably not all their draft picks, but those are the ones that those are the main ones that I know. And they also, after the draft, they just signed Hunter Renfrow. I think, once again, with the same thing I kind of just said with the Patriots, I believe that Carolina went into this draft thinking that, okay, we seen the small potential from Bryce Young. Bryce Young played very good at the end of last season. And the Panthers went into it thinking, well, if we can just build off of what Bryce Young did last season, he should be comfortable now to where we can depend on him, moving forward. This is our guy. We're going to put the pieces around him to, start to really elevate this thing. Tedderall McMillan, to me, was the number two best wide receiver in this draft. Of course, I'm going to say Travis Hunter was number one. And then you go ahead and you add Nick Scorton, who was very good, who you add him to who he was very good at Texas A&M. You add him to a defense that was basically ranked at the bottom of everything last year. You double dip at edge rusher. Then you bring Trevor Etienne from Georgia. I like him a lot. I like him really a lot from Georgia. He can make plays, also catch out the backfield. I like him a lot. But the one I was so happy for was Jimmy Horn from Colorado. Jimmy Horn is a sneaky gem, and I think they got a steal with him. Very explosive, very fast, can run routes. And he was kind of, playing in the back at Colorado, but I like Jimmy Horn a lot. I think if Bryce Young can continue on the trajectory that he was on at the end of last year and just continue it up, I'm not saying this year. So I don't want people in the comments saying, it's too early to be. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if Bryce Young can continue his trajectory that he was on with these new weapons, also you continue adding these defensive pieces, I think that if we look maybe a year or two down the line, we could see the Carolina Panthers competing to win that NFC South division. Because I just think that they've been making all the right moves and all the right selections to get this team better. I mean, just look at total offense last year. They were ranked 29th. Passing offense, 30th. Rushing offense, 18th. Scoring offense, 23rd. Third down offense, 26th. So they are at the bottom of basically every category on offense. You address the wide receiver position twice and also address the running back position in the draft. On the defensive side, they was total defense 32nd, passing defense 23rd, rushing defense 32nd, scoring defense 32nd, red zone defense 29th, third down defense 32nd. So they're at the bottom on all the defensive categories. You double dip with two of the top edge rushers coming out in this year's draft. You know what I'm saying? So they're building the foundation there in Carolina. And like I said, the main thing with them is if Bryce Young can continue if Bryce Young can continue doing what he did at the end of last year. Hopefully he's comfortable now. The jitters are out. They benched him, He's back. He came back in and did what he was supposed to do. Hopefully he can continue on that. And like I said, I'm confident enough to say within the next, I would say 2 years, we could see the Carolina Panthers possibly winning this division. Because the Saints, I feel like the Saints don't know the direction they're going in. They're having quarterback issues. Of course, you're going to have Tampa. You never can count out Tampa. And then Atlanta, you got to see, Atlanta is give and take. But I really like what the Panthers did. To me, the Panthers had the best draft out of every team this year. They did really good. I really love what they did. So that's it. So at number 3, I went Dallas Cowboys. Number 2, I went New England Patriots. And at number 1, I went Carolina Panthers. And those are my top 3 winners of this year's NFL draft. But I told y'all that I got an honorable mention because I don't want to hear y'all crying. My honorable mention, because I believe a lot of teams had good drafts. But my honorable mention is the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants had a good draft. And yeah, they are division rivals or whatever, but I got to give props when they do. I think the New York Giants had a really good draft. Round 1, getting Abdul Carter, who could have easily been the number 1 pick, the best defensive player in this draft, to me, in my opinion. Then you trade back in the round 1 and get Jackson Dart. Now they're banking on Jackson Dart's ceiling. I watched Jackson Dart a lot last year. I seen plays here and there, but they're banking on his ceiling. They liked him a lot. You have your quarterback for the future. He could sit behind Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, learn the ropes, learn everything like that. And then next year, there go your starting quarterback. Then they turn around in round 3 and got Darius Alexander, one of the best defensive tackles in the draft. You pair him up with Dexter Lawrence. You got Brian Burns on one side and then Abdul Carter now. We looking at one of the best. We could possibly be looking at one of the best defensive line in football. It wouldn't shock me if the New York Giants had a top five defensive line this year with those weapons. And then my favorite pick that they had of them all was Cam Scatterbull. I like Cam Scatterbull a lot. And this right here is a situation where I feel like sometimes these scouts, they just overanalyze things, because it gets to a point where I get tired of hearing about how fast they 40 is, what's their vertical jump, how tall they are, how, can they do the 3-cone. I'm tired of that. At the end of the day, turn the film on. Can this guy play or can he? What I watched from Cam Scatterbull do all year, and then what he did against Texas in that college football playoff game, there's no way in the world, he's a football player. There's no way in the world anybody could tell me, because of what his 40 time was or his vertical jump, you shouldn't take him after watching that. Miss me with that. I love that pick for the Giants. He come in and he can get in that running back room with the running backs they already have. And like I said, man, the Giants could be cooking. The only thing that I didn't write down all their draft picks, but the only thing that my question mark for the Giants is what they're going to do at the wide receiver position. You got Malik Neighbors. Do you want to put somebody on the opposite side of him to, take that pressure off of him? But other than that, though, I feel like the Giants cooked in this draft. So they was my honorable mention. I actually do between them and the Patriots, but though the Giants ended up being my honorable mention for all my Giants fans, so y'all won't be crying. Moving on. So we're gonna switch to some NBA, and this right here is something that is really unfortunate. So Damian Lillard tears his Achilles. So I'm gonna go ahead and read what I wrote down, and then I'm gonna give you my reaction to that. So Damian Lillard ruptured his left Achilles tendon on Sunday night, an injury that dramatically alters the career of players named one of the 75 greatest in NBA history, and may effectively end the Milwaukee Bucks' chances of competing for an NBA championship and what remains of Giannis Antetokounmpo's prime. In sober, on-court terms, losing Lillard 10th in the NBA in points and assists per game during the regular season and 11th in offensive estimated plus-minus takes away the Bucks' best option for reducing the scoring and shot creation burden on Antetokounmpo, who's averaging a postseason high 33.8 points per game. An inability to defend the younger, deeper, more explosive Pacers has been Milwaukee's biggest problem in the first round matchup, with Indiana scoring a scorching 120.2 points per 100 possessions through 4 games, given how unlikely it will be for the older and slower Bucks to suddenly begin clamping down through their most realistic puncher's chance at coming back from a 3-1 deficit, rested with fighting fire with fire. Without Dame, Milwaukee's prospects of beating Indiana 3 straight times are very nil. On a very basic human level, Lillard going down like this less than a week after returning from a blood clot in his right calf, a late season affliction that many expected would sideline him the remainder of the Bucks season, only for him to make a quicker recovery than has ever been seen before. It's just unfathomably cruel. I knew it right away, Bucks head coach Doc Rivers told reporters after Game 4. I felt bad for him. The guy tried to come back for his team. I just felt bad for him. While he hadn't played particularly well after spending more than a month in street clothes, shooting just 6 for 25 from the floor in Game 2 and Game 3, it was still remarkable to see Lillard make such a stunning and spirited comeback to a Bucks team fighting for its postseason life against rival Pacers. Seeing him lay low laid low just 6 minutes into Game 4. The immediate reach for the heel. The stationary seated pose in the backcourt as play moved on without him. The inability to put any weight on that left leg as his teammates and coaches helped him off the court was stomach churning. Lillard is actually 54 days older than Kobe Bryant was when he tore his Achilles, a rupture that, like Lillard, came during the opening round of the 2013 NBA playoffs that kept him on the shelf for nearly 8 months before a brief return was curtailed by a fractured left knee, and from which he never fully bounced back to his Hall of Fame pre-injury form. So my thoughts on this whole situation with Damian Lillard and the Bucks. I feel bad for Dame. Going through his blood clot situation, fighting back, I probably rushed back a little too soon to try to help his team win, because I'm going to be honest with you, I felt like the Milwaukee Bucks had no chance without Dame, and even with Dame, I still felt as though they would lose the series. Milwaukee, other than Giannis, nobody else can score besides Dame, and without Dame, it's really bad. And I just feel bad for him, because since being traded to the Bucks, even last year, he had a lot of people said he had a down year. I felt this year was a little better during the regular season, and you thought, finally we would see them at least be able to make a deep playoff push. And for him to tear his Achilles at 35 years old, you know what I'm saying? I think that's just unfortunate. And I see a lot of people saying, do they believe he can come back and all that? I believe he'll be able to come back, because I don't think Damian Lillard's game relies on athleticism. He could shoot the three very well, get to the mid-range. He could score from all three levels, kind of similar to like KD. A lot of people thought the Achilles would affect KD in a bad way, and he actually ended up coming back, playing better ball after the Achilles than he did, prior to the injury. So it's just unfortunate, but I know the type of player that Dame is. He's going to attack, rehab hard, and he's going to be back for next year. My main question going into next season is, what Milwaukee Bucks team will we see? Because I don't believe the same team that I literally just finished watching the game before I started recording. I don't believe the same team that we just seen is going to be the same team that's going to be on the floor next year. And I hate to break it to Milwaukee fans, but I gotta be real. That's why I got this show. I gotta be honest with y'all. I don't see a scenario where Giannis is in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform very much longer. I believe Giannis is gonna win out soon. I don't know if he's gonna do it publicly. I don't know if it's gonna be something behind closed doors. But Giannis has made it abundantly clear on multiple occasions that he wants to win. I don't believe he can win with Milwaukee anymore. They already won their championship. I don't believe he can win with Milwaukee anymore. I believe Brook Lopez will be gone after this season. I believe Bobby Portis will be gone after this season. They already traded away Chris Middleton. They already traded away Chris Middleton. You brought in Kyle Kuzma. He underperformed in these playoffs. You brought in Gary Trent Jr. I just don't believe this is a roster right now, and especially with their cap situation, I don't believe this is a roster that'll be ready to win right now. And I just think Giannis is kind of on that. He's kind of on the brink, the prime of his career. Giannis wants to win. He's made that abundantly clear. So I don't see a scenario where Giannis is in the Milwaukee uniform that much longer. And I don't know what that means for Dame. Being as though Dame ruptured his Achilles this late in the season, I don't know if Dame will even be ready to start the season next year. It may take some time to where we may be looking at Dame is not ready to play again until probably, the middle of next year, the middle of next season. And I don't know how much Giannis is willing to sit in, because the way Boston look, Boston has overlapped Milwaukee, Cleveland has overlapped Milwaukee, Indiana has overlapped Milwaukee, and not to mention the New York Knicks. So right now, I would say it's 4 teams in the Eastern Conference that's better than Milwaukee. And if you looking to go into next season with at least no Dame for half the season, you got to move pieces around to figure out what you're going to do. I don't see a scenario where Giannis wants to wait wait around and see what's going on. There's already been rumblings about him possibly leaving. I heard Golden State. I heard Houston. I heard a lot of different scenarios, but I don't see a scenario where Giannis is a Milwaukee Buck for too much longer. But that's just me. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But I just don't see it. But it's unfortunate for Dame. Dame, get better, man. Hopefully, I know he's going to attack rehab and get back as soon as possible. Don't rush. You know what I'm saying? Don't rush. And we just got to see where this thing go. But this is going to be a very interesting offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I can't wait to see what happens. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on the whole Damian Lillard situation. Unfortunate, it's very unfortunate, but get healthy, get back out there so we can keep watching you hoop, bruh. And by the time this episode come out, everybody will know that Milwaukee has officially been eliminated from the playoffs by the Indiana Pacers. So that's that on that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I appreciate y'all for locking in each and every week. You know that. I tell y'all that all the time. Do not forget what I need y'all to do for me. Smash that subscribe button. We are on our way to 300 subscribers. Also, do not forget to like and share the content when it drops. Do not forget to follow me on all social media platforms. I'm active on them platforms, so make sure y'all find me and follow me if you're not already following me. And I don't really know what else I need y'all to do, but I'll figure it out on the next episode. But I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all next time.